Good morning. Welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out. And I'm practicing this morning because I have not yet mastered it, but I will master it eventually. My goal is to get to that place when something happens to just go to peace first and just go to God first, right? Thanks for tuning in, you guys. This is a crazy day, isn't it? It's been a crazy week too. Y'all just don't know, but you got your own crazy, right, to deal with. Anyway, quick update. 21 days is the book of the week. Even if you have already developed the habit of Bible study, get it for somebody who hasn't. It's perfect for the new believer or the new student of the Word, I might say. And you could buy 5 or 10 copies and give it to your church to give to people when they get saved. So this gives them a guidance. And the verses are just all about the basics. There's absolutely no doctrine as far as specific teaching to any religion or denomination in here. It's all about love and faith and hope and trusting God. Things we talk about every day right here at Peace Out, right? I got to do something with my hair. Don't tell nobody. Anyway, so this morning I was still reading in First Chronicles, and I found this really cool scripture. And I found one of the things David talks about in Psalms. Now, you know I love David. You know I love Psalms. And I've lived in the Psalms. They just... So many times when you're going through stuff, Psalms just have just the right words, maybe it's dealing one night. Is it 116? I'm not sure that that's the right psalm, but one of the psalms, maybe earlier, maybe Psalm 5 or 6, where David said in the old King James, he said, "All night I make I my bed to swim in tears." That's the old King James. But in the English it says, "I cried all night long." And I love that he's just vulnerable before God, that he's transparent before God. I mean, and we've said this before, it's not like God doesn't know, right? Whether we tell him how we really feel or not, he knows. And so there's this power in trusting him enough to be honest with our feelings, just like with your friends. I sat with some friends last night, probably the only friends I have, I don't know. But we sat last night and we just talked, and it was a safe place, and we laughed a lot too, and that was nice. It was healing. But I trust them with my feelings. I trust them with my thoughts, as crazy as they are, right? And so we want to get to that type of relationship with God where we trust him with our deepest, darkest emotions, our lightest and surface emotions, everything in between. We want to get to that place where we can just tell God how we feel, how we really feel. It's not like he doesn't know anyway. And so as one of the things, the Psalms really helped me when Chris first had his wreck, when I realized, hey, David was heartbroken sometimes. Things didn't always go like he wanted, and they certainly didn't go like he planned. And he had circumstances he had to deal with and people he had to deal with. And he got himself in a bind because of his own big mouth. Sometimes he got himself in a bind, and he got himself in a bind with Bathsheba. He wasn't perfect, but he could tell God everything. I love that about David. Well, I found this morning in First Chronicles an actual story where he did that, and I was like, this was my stopping point. This is my personal rule: read till something grabs you, and then just camp there till you're done. It's better to get it than to just read a whole bunch of chapters. Even if I don't finish reading the Bible through in the year, if I camp out a few places and get it, because the Bible should be applicable. We should be able. It should be practical, and it is. That's my tagline, right? Let's make it applicable. Let's make it practical, because it is, and we can apply it to our day-to-day lives. If it's just a book, it's a good book to read and put on the shelf. Let's find something else. But it's not, right? There's so much to it. And so I found this, and in 1 Chronicles 13, Saul died. David is finally king. And this is after a long battle, right? Saul chased him for years. David thought it was never going to come to pass, right? And he's become king, and he's so excited. He says, let's go get the Ark of God, because that represented and really housed the presence of God back then, right? It was what you wanted to have as a believer in the Old Testament sense, right? And so he says, let's go get the Ark. But he forgot to do it the way God told him to do it. David wasn't perfect. He was a human. There was a specific way to move the ark. And God had told him, when you move the ark, the priests carry it this way, put these rods. They built the ark to not be touched, because it was representative and housed God's presence in the day. Now we are God's presence. We are his temple. We are the the ark, so to speak. We hold the presence of God because Jesus broke down that wall. That's a whole nother lesson. Anyway, but there was a specific way to carry the ark, and so they weren't carrying it right. And it says the oxen stumbled, I believe, yes, and Uzzah put out his hand to stable it. He was doing a good thing, but it was wrong, right? He put it out and he touched the ark, and he got fried right there on the spot. Then that's a whole nother lesson. Okay, we're not going to go there, because what happened was, it says David was angry because of the Lord's anger. David was angry because Uzzah had died. I'm sure he was like, that's not justified, God. That didn't make any sense, because he was trying to steady the ark of God, that God couldn't protect his own presence, like God couldn't protect it, right? But David didn't move it wrong to begin with, so it was kind of David's fault. Oh, there's all these. Isn't that how our situations are in our lives? There's all these little ins and outs. We can either justify our actions, which we tend to do, or we can just suck it up and say, oh, well, that's just this is what happened, right? But we got all these emotions and all these thoughts and all these analyses that we got to do, and fill the things out in triplicate form to justify our emotions, or to figure out how to work through certain circumstances or situations, right? And so but it says David was angry with God, what God had done. He was mad about what God had done. And I'm sorry, but I love that, because the Bible was honest. David was not happy, and he was mad. But here's what really stuck out. We go on down. As a matter of fact, David said, just leave it there. Don't anybody touch it. Don't anybody move it. Put it in Obed-Edom's house, and we'll figure this out later. Because he was probably a little bit scared. And sometimes our anger is because we're scared. But that's a whole other lesson, too. We can do that in health coaching. Okay, we can talk about that, right? But anyway, so they just left it there. Okay, I don't know what to do, so just leave it there. And then in chapter 14, it says he goes down and he's ready. The Philistines heard that he was made king, so they come and attack. And David's like, okay, it says David asked God in verse 10 of 1 Chronicles 14. So David asked God, should I go to fight the Philistines? Will you hand them over to me? And the Lord replied, I like that part, right? He said, yep, go ahead. I'll give you the victory. But here's what I like, and it's not the prayer itself. It's the fact that at the end of chapter 13, David was mad at God. But in chapter 14, he's coming back to ask him a question again. And I love that, because it's so me, right? I've said before, God, I'm just not even going to pray anymore. I'm just not even going to pray. I don't think you even hear me anyway. And the next thing that happens, I'm like, oh, God, please help me work through this. Please give me some wisdom. And I'm like, oh, I already prayed, right? But I love it when I found it here, because God didn't say, oh, no, you're not speaking to me, remember? You're mad at me. Go work that out and come back later. There was no sarcasm. God wasn't snarky with David, and he could have been, because he's God, right? But he didn't go, oh, are you talking to me again now? Oh, now you want to ask me, God, should you go to battle? I don't know. Should you go to battle? God was just gracious, and he just answered him. Yes, go, take them. I'll give you the victory. Just because we get mad at God doesn't mean peace is gone. Just because we get mad at our circumstances and we don't like what's going on doesn't mean that God's going to withdraw his peace and go, well, until you get happy. What was it? You said you can get happy in the same pants you got mad in, right? They work both ways. No, he didn't have any snarky comments. He didn't have any go-to sayings. When David came to him, he was just still God. And I love that about God, that he doesn't say, oh, well, when you get over being mad at me, don't ask me now. What was that you said last in chapter 13? You're mad at me? Did you get over that? He just said, I'll give you the victory. Go for it. And so I love two things about this little passage. One, that it was honest and just told us David was mad. But then it shows us that David didn't stay mad. He came right back to God, because he knew that God was his source, his rock, his salvation, his strength. All those things he learned in the cave, he lived out because he went right back to God. And we can go back to God just like David did. Whether we're mad at God, mad with our circumstances, upset because things didn't go our way, or we have a great loss or a great plus, whatever we have, God is just there waiting for us to come to him. He longs for that, and he will hear us, and he will answer us, and he will give us his peace. He's got enough grace for today. He never withdraws that. He doesn't say, well, you're mad at me, so you don't get any more grace. What kind of God would that be? That's because we're not. That's why we're not God. Because that's what I would say. Oh, are you so now you're not mad? Okay, but he wasn't snarky at all. He was just like, yeah, let me give you this battle. You've got this battle. Doesn't matter if you were mad at me or not last night. It doesn't matter if you're talking to me. You hadn't talked to me in weeks. It doesn't matter. God's just like, I got you. He won't withdraw that grace, that mercy, that peace, his love. As a matter of fact, Romans 8 tells us there's absolutely nothing in heaven, on earth, in between, or below, or beneath, or above, or anywhere that can separate us from his love. Nothing can make God not love you. And that's why I can peace out today. Peace out, you guys. I hope I said something that made sense. Have a great day, and I'll see you again in the morning.